For those of you who don't know, my name is Jamie, and I am the creator of Leafy Reads and Finest Teas. We do a little bit here on my channel. We do some book hauls, we do some book reviews, and today I am actually going to bring you guys my first recommendation video. I have been looking forward to doing this video for a very, very long time. I absolutely love YA dystopian books. Specifically the ones anywhere from 2009 to 2016, roughly around the start of Hunger Games when they came out. There's a lot of different series out there that I feel like, and I have them right here today, that did not get the credit that they deserved, or at least get recognized as well as I think some of them should have. Some of them are popular, the rest of them are maybe new to you guys, so we're gonna go through those today. And if you guys have not already, please like and subscribe. That would help me out astronomically to bring you guys more videos every week. And this is just a little side note, I did get married on Saturday, so if you guys were curious about how that went, I did post them on my Leafy Reads Instagram. You guys can go look at that if you choose and you want to see how everything went. It was absolutely amazing. I'm very glad that we did this because it was absolutely amazing. It was the best day and we had a lot of fun. A lot of these books my sister actually read around the same time I did, so she would 100% recommend these as well. But we're going to start with the top favorites, and we're going to go all the way down to my semi 5-star read favorites. The first trilogy I have for you guys today is the Chemical Garden trilogy. So we have the first book being Wither, Fever, and Sever. This particular trilogy is not for the faint-hearted, I must say, because this is such a unique circumstance. So a little bit about our synopsis right here is, thanks to modern science, every newborn has become a ticking genetic time bomb. Males only live to the age of 25 and females only live up to age 20. I'm going to leave that right there and you guys think about that for a minute. Can you imagine the type of world this is? This intrigued both of us. When we first picked this up and we saw that first two sentences, we're like, this ain't good. This is already not sounding like at all like this already doesn't sound good. In this bleak landscape, young girls are kidnapped and forced into polyamorous marriages to keep the population from dying out. Any girl who's 12, 13, 14, they're shipped off to either young males or the older generation of the males. So when 16-year-old Ryan Ellery is taken by the gatherers to become a bride, she enters a world of wealth and privilege. Despite her husband Lyndon's genuine love for her and tenuous trust among her sister wives, she's got two, so she's among 3 wives. Ryan has one purpose, is to escape, to find her twin brother and go home. Ryan has more to contend with than losing her freedom. Lyndon's eccentric father is bent on finding an antidote to the genetic virus that is getting closer to taking his son. I think his son at this point is like 22, 23. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure that's where he is. So with the help of Gabriel, a servant she is growing dangerously attracted to, Ryan attempts to break free in the limited time she has left. That is the introduction for the first book. And can I just say, just the art on this is amazing. Like the whole thing, it's all foiled. It's very, very, it gives you a certain type of vibe. It kind of gives you like the steampunk vibe in the beginning. But this trilogy in particular, because I have read all 3 of them, we go through a lot of ups and downs. We have our moments where we think we're safe and where we think everything's going to be all right and we start doing our own thing, and then all of a sudden we're thrown back into what the civilization is like. It's back and forth, and it is still one of my favorite trilogies that I can think of, and it's probably one of the worst circumstances that I can think of. Out of all the dystopian books, I think this is one of the worst. The only one I can think of that is just as bad is H2O, which I will recommend. That one's not a 5-star from me, but I definitely would recommend that if you're just curious to see what kind of world happens when rain becomes poisonous and there's no drinking water left. So that's what that one's about. But this one, I'd say, is ranked on one of the worst dystopian ideas. One of the best stories, 100%. I absolutely love the story. I love the characters. We connect with the characters. Each and every one of them we follow through all 3 books. We get a little bit of the sister wives perspective in here, and it is just amazing. I absolutely love these. The first one is Wither, and then we have Fever, which I'm not gonna say what the next ones are about, but you can kind of guess. And then the third one is Shatter. Mind you that just the artwork between each of the books is really, really nice. It just gives it its own feel, and each book has different scenarios. We go through the same people. There's not different people's perspectives in this. It's all about Rhine and trying to find her brother, and Gabriel as well. And then we also get a little bit of Lendon's as well as the sister wives. Out of all of them, this is my favorite trilogy. Absolutely, 100%. 5 stars all the way. The next one I am gonna say is one of the oldest, but also one of the most popular series that I think I could recommend, and that is the Maximum Ride series. For those of you who have read the Maximum Ride, you know what I'm talking about. For those of you who don't know, this is a story about Maximum Ride and her flock. I have explained this a little bit in one of my other videos because I did read the continuation after all the books have been done. After all the 8 books, we move on to Hawk's story, which is the continuation of the Maximum Ride series. They just don't say that because you don't get in the beginning why it's tied into Maximum Ride, but you will. I'm trying not to give everything away. It's very, very hard not to. But I did read Hawk. I loved it 100%. And I do intend on reading City of the Dead, which is the last one that they have created for the Maximum Ride series. So for those of you who would like me to review that one, please let me know. I'll determine whether or not to fit it into all the new books or if I need to make that one a priority. We shall see. But this is definitely one of the oldest dystopian, but also one of the best that, for me, will never die. This series will never die. It is still one of the best ones, and it is absolutely perfect for middle school kids. So, next one I have for you guys is a little bit of a medieval feel. It is based in 1600s, and we follow 3 different people. It is the Darken series by Kiersten White. This trilogy in particular, yes, is very long. I'm not gonna lie. They are very, very thick books. They are very thick reads. However, from how fast I read all these, because this isn't really a romantic YA base. This is more like that actiony, medieval, I want to rule the world type of feel to these books. For those of you who like the Paranormal trilogy and the Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein, this is on a completely different level. She's not writing with that kind of a perspective. It's like she leveled up and is getting on Terry Brooks' level here, and I actually enjoy her writing. I enjoy her writing a lot better than Terry Brooks, and I must say, I did not expect this. I did not expect this to be on my 5-star to be read list. Starting off, no one expects a princess to be brutal. Starting off with that, yes, no one expects a princess to be brutal. However, I am going to say that a lot of these names in here I am going to botch. because it is just they're so unique names. It reminds you of something out of Middle Earth and Lord of the Rings. You just don't know how to pronounce it until it's said. So I'm gonna do my best here. Lada likes it in that way. Ever since she and her gentle brother Radu were wrenched from their homeland in Wallachia. I don't know. And abandoned by their father to be raised in the Ottoman courts, Lada has known that being ruthless is the key to survival. She basically, it's hilarious. It's like she takes on the brother's role, and the brother took on her role. He's the more gentle version, and she's like the brutal, very feisty fighting spirit that her brother should be, which is insane. She and Radu are doomed to act as pawns in a vicious game, in an unseen sword hovering over every move. For the lineage that makes them special also makes them targets, because they're a part of a kingdom that's actually in trouble, so they have to try and get it back. And that's mostly what the story is about. A lot of this is Lada's perspective, but we also get a lot of Radu's perspective as well. I do not remember if we get any other perspectives in here, but I wouldn't be surprised. So Lada despises the Ottomans and bides her time, planning her vengeance for the day when she can return to Wallachia and claim her birthright. Radu longs only for a place that he feels safe, and when they meet Muhammad, the defiant and lonely son of the Sultan, Radu feels that he's made a true friend, and Lada wonders if she's finally found someone worthy of her passion. I am gonna say, this is not a romantic-based book. It is mostly the politics, it is mostly the medieval, the fighting, everything with involved. It's like a little snippet, very, very small snippet of romance in there. It's kind of just like, oh, you're here? Okay, let's do this, and then I'm gonna go on my way. That's mostly how it plays out. So if you're not looking for a lot of romance, this is a good one to start with. I am gonna say, because Radu, there is a little bit of the LGBTQ aspect in here. Not a lot, but it's just enough to be noted. And you're just like, oh, okay, and we move on. So, like, for me, that was a little bit of a surprise. I don't typically read LGBTQ books, but I'm not saying that I don't enjoy them. Different sexual orientation based, but I haven't had very many of them. So for me, it was okay, because it's also in the medieval period. It kind of makes sense to have a little bit of that in there, because it was common, but it wasn't common, if that makes sense. Muhammad is the heir to a very empire that Lada has sworn to fight against, and that Radu now considers home. Together, Radu, and Muhammad form a toxic triangle that strains the bond of love and loyalty to the breaking point. So, pretty much, she's fighting for her kingdom, when technically her brother should be fighting for the kingdom, but her brother just wants to sit around and hang out with Muhammad all day. So it's kind of like a swap on the roles on this, and I actually loved it. I lived for it. It was very nice having a strong, brutal, because she's brutal. She's like, this girl in here, fierce, very, very fierce, and very feisty, and she don't take no crap for anybody. She does not take any crap from anybody at all. And I loved having that kind of a character. It is very nice reprieve. I must say though, the second one is the biggest one out of this whole trilogy. But it was 100% worth it to read. I'm glad I read it. I may actually read these again, and I do not say that very often. There's very few series that I would read again. But this one, I do like my romantic, but it was nice that these ones were not romantic based. Next, we're going to move on to one that I feel like did not get enough recognition for the time period, and that is The Goddess Test by Aimee Carter. This series, and it is a series, it's more than just the trilogy, we have a few other extra books. This one is mythological based. We have Zeus, we have Hera, we have everybody in here, because it's a different twist on the typical, Greek gods. It's always been just Kate and her mom, and her mother is dying. Her last wish, to move back to her childhood home. So Kate's going to start at a new school with no friends, no other family, and the fear her mother won't live past the fall. Then she meets Henry, dark, tortured, and mesmerizing, and he claims to be Hades, god of the underworld, and if she accepts his bargain, he'll keep her mother alive while Kate tries to pass 7 tests. Kate is sure that he's crazy until she sees him bring a girl back from the dead. Now, saving her mother seems crazily possible. If she succeeds, she'll become Henry's future bride and goddess, and if she fails, well, because that's where it leaves off. It just leaves off with if she fails. It doesn't say anything else. So it leaves it to your imagination, which I love. But every girl who has taken the test has died, and now it's Kate's turn. This is probably one of the best mythological dystopian ones that I have read so far. I haven't really read The Lightning Thief, so I can't speak for that series yet. But out of this one, because I did read all 3 books, it is definitely a particular vibe. There is a little bit of, well, I shouldn't say a little bit, there's a lot of romance in it. So you kind of leave that up to the imagination. Just because of how they act, you can kind of figure it out for yourself. Who's who. I mean, obviously, they named Hades already. But over time, you get the feel for which characters are which. Aimee Carter, I must say, though, is turning into one of my favorites because I have also read Pawn by her. I have not finished the rest of the series. I've read Pawn and I've read Captive, but I have not read Queen. And I really need to get a hold of that one so I can finish that trilogy. And if she's created any more, I have no idea. But she has written so many different things. I do intend on finishing the rest of the Pawn series. If you like your mythological stories, I would 100% recommend this one for you. It definitely works for the mythological vibes. This one you guys have actually seen me recommend already. For you guys, it's The Girl of Fire and Thorns. I was so happy that I finally got to read this book again, and I do intend on reading the rest of them slowly over time because I have not read the short stories from different characters in the story. I absolutely love this, and I'm going to tell you guys why. Because I love the stories of Aladdin, and this gives so much Aladdin vibe. You get the sand, you feel the heat, you feel the smells, you get the sting of the sandstorms, you get the hard life that a lot of people in this story do not understand, but she slowly gets to understand the actual people that are behind everything, because she was originally just living in palaces. She was a princess who got married to one of the nearby kingdom's kings, and he needed a wife to back him up. Not really interested in being a husband, if that makes sense. She's kind of just there as a political standpoint, so she's not really romantically involved. He doesn't try to force her into it, which is really, really nice. But she also has a destiny, and she is the owner of the Godstone, which is a gift that which God provides to a bearer, I think once every 100 years, something like that. And they always have to perform a service. So whatever it is, she's trying to find hers. And she discovers a lot of things about the Godstone and about the people. But I live for this so much. We have so much character growth, especially from Eliza. We get a lot of different characters that you connect with instantly. You're just like, I like her. Veronica Raw, Tomer Pierce, they've recommended this, said it's engrossing, it's enticing, intense, and unique. Absolutely love. This is definitely going to always be one of my favorites. No matter what happens, I will always keep this on my shelf. I love it so much. So I would highly recommend this trilogy to you guys if you have not. So the next one I have for you guys is a very big twist on a person's abilities. Numbers trilogy. This trilogy. So starting off, since the day her mother died, Jem has known about numbers. And what do we mean by that? Numbers that pop in her head when she looks into someone's eyes. Their dates, the numbers. dates predicting when with root accuracy of each person's death. Basically, she looks at a person, and if she looks at them in the eyes, she sees their death date. And I can't imagine having a power like that, because that just scares me. And she can't see her own. She's tried, she can't look, she can't see her own. Burdened by such grim knowledge, Jem avoids relationships until she meets Spider, another outsider, and takes a chance. Maybe they can find happiness together, if only the brief time that remains before his expiration date. But on a trip to London, Jem foresees a chilling chain of events. The city's a target, the clock's running out, the countdown is about to blow up. So, this trilogy, I can tell you, we have different perspectives from this. This one we get Jem and Spider. I can't imagine looking at anyone's eyes and seeing their death date, let alone multiple people with the same death date. Like, if she was at, like, 9/11 and she was looking around and saw almost every other person had the same death date, I think you'd be a little concerned of what's going to happen too. So I actually read the series while we were on a family road trip, and I ended up finishing it all in one sitting. Before we had even reached our destination, my sister gave it to me. She's like, here, I only had a couple of pages. You might as well start it. And I read it very, very quickly, and I read it all in one sitting because I loved it so much. And then I ran home and I wanted to read the rest, but the first one and the second one had come out. I had not, the resources at the time, I didn't know when the third one was going to come out, so I kind of just happened upon that one day, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that was awesome. So this trilogy, definitely 100%, because we have different scenarios, different perspectives. So we have Jem and Spider for the first one. The second one is about a boy named Adam and a girl named Sarah, and this one is also about Adam and Sarah. So we kind of get a little kickstart with the first one, but mostly the series is about the other two. But it'll only make sense when you read the first one. So this one, 5 stars, 100%. I highly recommend them. They are a little bit on the older side. I think the last one came out in 2011. So it's definitely an older trilogy, but 100% worth it. It's a very interesting dystopian concept. This one, I know everybody's heard of it. It's very, very simple. I don't even need to explain anything, because this series is all over the place. And I read this when it first came out. I literally was there with each book that came out until after Imagine Me. I read the first 3. I have not read the rest of them. I did not know that she would be making more. I thought the third one wrapped it up very, very well. But then she started making more. So now I'm kind of baffled that she's going to be making some more. So a little bit about the synopsis here. No one knows why Juliet's touch is fatal, but the reestablishment has plans for her, plans to use her as a weapon. Well, yeah, if your touch was fatal to anybody who was around and you just touched them, of course they're going to use you as a weapon. But Juliet has plans of her own. After a lifetime without freedom, she is finally discovering strength to fight back the very first time and find a future with one where she thought she'd lost forever. So the whole thing behind this, Juliet is very, very special, and she basically has the power to touch anyone and kill them, which I think would surprise anybody at this point. But it's the story about how she progresses, and there's a lot of her character development as well as a couple of other people that come into play in the series. Like I said, I have only read the first 3. I have not read the remainder of the series. I really, really hope that I do get a hold of the rest of the books so that I can actually start reading them and giving you guys my opinion on the rest of the books, because I've read up to Imagine Me. This next one I have actually recommended to you guys already on another book review video, and that is Born at Midnight by C.C. Hunter. I did explain this is a paranormal young adult story. I gotta say though, I am gonna warn you, Kylie is a dum-dum. This is the nicest way to put it. She is all about herself. She's in her very teenage mode right now. She thinks everything is boo-hoo about me. But she starts slowly coming out of it the more she understands that not everything revolves around her and that her circumstances can be a lot worse. So Kylie's at the wrong place at the wrong time. She ends up getting caught. Her mother decides to ship her off to a camp for troubled teens when it's actually a camp for supernaturals to learn how to use their powers. And that's vampires, werewolves, fae, all of the different types. And she's trying to find out where she fits in everything because she thinks she's perfectly fine. And people are telling her that you're not normal. Okay, how do I know I'm not normal? So she meets new friends. She has one person who's being really nice to her, Derek, and then we also have Lucas, which is actually someone from her past that she is slowly discovering a little more about in the story. We do have a lot of character development on Kylie's part, and I am thankful for very, very much for that, because in the beginning she's definitely, I would definitely be able to read something else. But I have read the second book. I do intend on reading the rest of the series. I fell in love with it. I am a paranormal nerd. I love vampires, werewolves, the whole shebang. But this one, it gives you a different feel about it, especially with the ghost aspect of it. I love C.C. Hunter's writing. I really do. You may hate the characters, but that's okay. You're supposed to. It gives you a different feel. You like the other characters. Kylie, you kind of grow to like. As far as the rest of the series, I am going to have to let you guys know, because I have not finished it yet. But this is definitely one of my top YA recommend reads. There is a lot of romance in it. Just going to say that flat out. It's a lot of young adult talk, but there is a lot of action and dealing with the other vampires, the werewolves, everything like that. So highly recommend if you like your paranormal. Next one, I know that this one is actually not as popular as I think it should have been. I had to ask my hometown library to bring these books into the library, and they did that like 2 years later, which I thought was hilarious. But it is the Embrace series by Jessica Shirvington. First of all, can I just speak about the cover? This cover is beautiful. It really is. Like, look at this. So starting out the synopsis, everything is about to change for Violet Eden. Strange dreams are leaving her very real injuries, and there's a dark tattoo weaving its way up her arms. She may rock at kickboxing, but right now she's not even sure what she's fighting. Lincoln has always been her one anchor in life, until he holds back one big lie. Phoenix is there to pick up the pieces, but he's all shades gray. Is there anyone she can trust to tell her the truth? I fell in love with the series from the moment I first read the first book. I continued to read the entire rest of the series within 2 months because I love this so much. I read it once, went back, and I read the rest of them. This book is for those of you who like your angels, demons, and this is also very, I'm not going to say religious based because it's not religious based. There is a lot of biblical references because that's where it ties in. It's angels and demons, so we're going to get Ezekiel, we have Lucifer, we have all the big name angels in here, and a lot of like biblical prayers and references that they just use to their advantage. But it's not religious based, if that makes sense. Violet, she's trying to find her way in the world. She's always felt a little off, and she can't figure out what it is. Lincoln has been her best friend forever, but then they start having issues, and then Phoenix comes in, and he's like the dark, he's kind of like the bad boy of the series. I actually love Phoenix, and I'm happy that he actually stays through the whole series. Believe it or not, he stays through the whole series, and I can't get enough of him. I personally love him. Some people may not. That's okay. Violet, she goes back and forth. She has her moments, and then she's just, in the beginning, I think she's dumb as a brick. But she eventually has character development, and not only just her, but we have other character development as well from other characters. Story, I swear, it's a very interesting and wonderful concept. There's a lot of fight scenes, there's a little bit of a romance. I'm not going to say there's spice in it, there's like a very tiny bit of it. Not much. I'm going to say that. Just not much. But it's a lot of finding yourself and appreciating who you are, is mostly what it's about. I highly recommend that series as well. It is a total of 5 books. You have Embrace, Entice, and Blaze, and then you have Empower and Endless. Empower and Endless I do not have. I have the first 3 because those 3 are my favorite ones of the series. The last 2 I did read. They just didn't grab me as well as the first 3 did. I kind of just started getting lost in it and things just didn't start making sense. But I love the first 3 books. It made everything for me. It made all the difference. Now I'm going to move on to my last, and this is probably one I've saved for last only because it ranks about as high as my Wither, Fever, and Saber trilogy, as the Chemical Garden trilogy, the first one I showed you guys. This one I have loved. This one is the reason I got into dystopian stories. My teacher was the one who recommended it to me. She told me, if you like a little bit of romance, if you like trying to figure out yourself, or if you like different kind of situations, this is the series for you. I fell in love with the Delirium series. I have to say, this series made everything for me. So, starting off with our world, this world revolves around the fact that, kind of like how the Ugly series, they go and make you pretty and then everybody's the same. They don't fight, they don't do anything. It's very similar, except for the fact that they think that love is a disease. What happens when you try and take the love out of everyone? Yeah, you kind of turn into a little bit of a zombie. Your personality changes. You could turn, one way, you could turn another. It may not work. Starting off, we have our lovely Lena. She is about to have the surgery, and they take her in, and something happens at her interview. So they have to push it back for another time. But that's when she meets Alex, and Alex shows her, the world that she's missing out on, and she's thinking, do I want to have the surgery, or what is this thing that I'm feeling? This is Lena's story about making her decisions and what she decides to do with the rest of her life. And the Delirium stories, we have Hannah, Annabelle, Raven, and Alex. So we do get Alex's perspective. Raven is someone that we meet in Pandemonium. Hannah is Lena's best friend in the start of the story, and we don't get her perspective until we hit Requiem. But it was a really nice twist of how it ties in with the rest of the story when we get Hannah's perspective. Annabelle, I'm not going to say a word, you guys will find out when you read it. But I loved this series so much. This is what started me on my dystopian. I loved the concept, like, oh my god, can you actually take the love out of every single person? The answer is no. And there's some people who don't want to take love out of their lives because they think it's worth it. But their world is completely different from like how it is today. There's no songs, hardly at all, because a lot of songs revolve around love. So you can't exactly get rid of all the music, but you could get rid of the maturity. And that goes for books, that goes for anything love related. If they even get a hint that you are in love with somebody, or you're in a circumstance where they think your disease is spreading, they'll fix it. And they've fixed it before, and that's what she's scared of, is because there's been girls who have taken that and have never come back. So it is a very, very interesting dystopian story. I love this 100%. This is ranked up there with Wither, Fever, and Saber, the Chemical Garden trilogy. I absolutely love it. I cannot recommend this trilogy more. Technically it's a series because of this extra one, but I don't care. It's still going to be a trilogy to me. I enjoyed the first 2 books. I did enjoy the third up until the ending. I think the ending could have been a little bit stronger. and could have possibly been extended to another book. But I'm okay with how it ended. It's okay. So that is all I have for you guys today. Those are my 5-star recommended reads for YA Dystopian and just YA in general. I would like to finish this series that I love the most, and I am so looking forward to reading the rest of them when I can get a hold of the rest of the books. So that is all I have for you guys today. Thank you for joining me. If you guys can give this video a thumbs up and subscribe, that would help me astronomically, and it'll give you guys more content, because I did enjoy doing this video. I do intend on doing another one about children's, and then I also have another one I would like to do about young adults, so we'll progress from there. I do have a book haul video coming up for you guys. I do intend on doing that after I get back from my cruise. If it happens, we have a hurricane coming, and I really hope that this isn't going to change our plans. But if it does, then I'll be giving you guys a video next week. I do have a lot of library books that I have out. I'm staring at them right now, and it's like over 10 books. So I do intend on reading a lot of the newer books that have come out recently, and I will let you guys know which ones I intend on reading first and what I think of them slowly throughout the month. But it's time to start on October season. I do plan on giving you guys a TBR for the month of October. I have a lot of library books that I have with me today, and I do intend on reading at least most of them, because a lot of them are murder mysteries. So I am looking forward to doing that. Love your reads and drink your teas.